So what is the first thing God told Isaac? The very first instruction he gave him is in verse 2. And you know what he says? Do not go down to Egypt. Can you all say, don't go to Egypt? Isn't that a strange direction? Don't go to Egypt. Now, what does Egypt typify for us? It speaks of the world. You know, later on, 400 years later, the Egyptian nation is going to make slaves of the Israelites, the very descendants of Isaac. They're going to turn them into paupers, while the Egyptian pharaohs and the court live in wealth. They're going to turn them into poor people. And God says, I don't want you to go down to Egypt. Now, here's the thing. The first step in getting what's in God's hand, which is prosperity, first step is don't go to the world for their counsel. Don't go to the world, and the world tells you, here's how you get things. Here's how you prosper. And you got to look and say, no, I'm not going to go to the world for help. I'm going to go to God. I'm going to tell God, God, the world says, here's how I have to live. But how do you tell me how I live? And God's going to tell you the way to live. See, the world's economy, the world's system of commerce, is based on everything that is unscriptural. It's based on overspending, greed, competition, or shall I say, crushing the competition, and of debt. And the world says that's how you do it. If you've ever studied economy, and I love the study of economy. I find it very fascinating. And the more I study it, the more frightened I am of what's happening to the world and what's going to happen. And I can see so clearly how if people understood what keeps the economy rolling, they're going to realize it can't keep rolling forever. There will be a time when it can't keep going like this. And the way the economy works is this way. We got to get the people to keep spending and buying things they don't need to impress people they don't like. And we got to keep them to keep doing this. And so the whole message of the government is keep spending. Go out and buy things. Notice it's not save things. Oh, no, because if you save things, the economy will collapse. Get this. If you save, we collapse. But if you keep spending, we keep going. But what's happening? It cannot continue for long. And that's what's happening is it came to the point where people did not have any more money to spend. They stopped. They couldn't pay their mortgages. The bad loans, it just got out of hand. And then all of a sudden, the cards started to fall. And that's the economy. It's like a stack of cards. And all it takes is a little problem, and all the cards start falling down. Because it's all based on things that are totally unscriptural. Let's look at it. Overspending. Spending more than you have. But what does the Bible tell us on how to prosper? Proverbs 13:11 says, dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money, what does it say? Little by little makes it grow. You know what God says? Here's how you prosper. Save a little here and a little here. Don't spend it all. In fact, keep just a little bit of it. And keep every paycheck you get, everything you make, save a little here. Put a little away here. And you know what he says? If you keep doing it, you will make it grow. But you see what the world says? The world doesn't encourage savings. It encourages spending. God has a different perspective. He says, don't spend it all. Save some of it. And little by little, you'll make it grow. And you won't be dependent on the world system of finance. The world system of finance is based on greed. Can y'all say greed? Luke 12, verse 15, Jesus said, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. But what happens? Greed hits us. And you know what greed is? Now listen, greed is an excessive desire for material things. Now, did you all hear this? Greed is an excessive desire. Now, we all have a desire to have things, but greed is an excessive or an overabundant desire for things. And I'm going to tell you, greed will put you onto Povertyville. You get people who can hardly pay. I have been to people's homes, and they need the church to help them. They need others to help them. And yet when I get there, they have every channel that the cable has to offer. It's greed. You got people who are greedy when it comes to how they look. Even though they can't afford it, they'll go out and buy the most expensive jeans, get the most expensive clothes, because after all, I'm going to look rich. Jesus said, a man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. You see, your clothes don't make the man makes the clothes. See, and you got people just so caught up. If they don't have a diamond ring, if they don't have the nicest clothes, expensive cars, the nicest, most expensive furniture, then all of a sudden they don't feel good about themselves. God tells us the difference. He says your body's more important than your clothes. Your heart is more important. Your character is more important than the thing you drive. And yet, in this world, we're driven by greed, by getting things that we don't really need. Greed. I mentioned competition, that the world system is based on competition. Now, let me clarify this. You say, well, the free enterprise system is based on competition. You know, McDonald's competes with Burger King and Wendy's and Whataburger. But you know, you say, well, it's based on competition. Now, listen, there is a good type of competition if we want to even use the word competition. Bible doesn't use the word competition, though. All right? But I understand what people mean is, by having all these multiple companies competing, then they improve their services because all of them want to be better. That's good competition, is when one company looks at another and looks and says, you know what, they have a good idea. I'm going to incorporate that. That's a good idea. I'm going to do that here in our business. And then they improve their business. That's good. But the bad competition is a business trying to crush the competition by unfair means, by lying, maligning them, doing anything they can to crush the other guy. But see, that's not the Christian way. We don't look to hurt anyone. Even our competitors, even other businesses that do the same thing, we don't look to hurt them. Instead, what we do is we look to learn from them. They become mentors. They become iron sharpening our iron. So I learn from them, and by learning, I get better myself. But I don't look to crush them, because there's plenty of money to go around for all of us. How many of y'all know there's no end to how many burgers can open up? Burger places. I mean, it just keeps going up. Because one doesn't have to be crushed for the other to survive. But you have people who think we got to crush them. We ought to be honest and care about other people. This is one reason, this idea, in other words, it has to always be a win-win situation. So if competition means one person wins and another loses, then it's not Christian competition. That's why I cannot believe in gambling. Because in gambling, you have to wish for someone to lose. Because all people cannot win. You have 5 people around the poker table. All 5 of you can't go home with winnings. Someone has to leave crying. Because you have to want to beat them. You have to want to take their money. You want them to lose for you to win. That's not Christian-like. Because we have to want others to win as well. Do you see this? And when it comes to the economy, if you have a business or you're an employee, you cannot be crushing the other person in an unfair way just so you come out on top. You have to look at your competition, fellow employees. You have to look at them as an iron sharpening you and making you a better person. So you provide better service to your customers, not trying to crush people.